viral diseases? Anyone? It's very simple. I'm sure you people would have seen or you would have heard. First row, team C, please be attentive. Anyone? Any viral illness which you think has skin manifestation? Anyone? Herpes? Who said herpes? No, you're right. What's your name? Yes, very nice. So herpes is one thing. I'm sure, have you not heard of herpes labialis? Have you seen that once you have fever, there's a blister that comes up at the angle of your mouth or on your lips? Have you seen that? Have you seen it in your family and near and dear ones? Have you seen it? So that is herpes labialis. So one is herpes. What else? Yes, chickenpox. What else? Smallpox. We don't need to talk about smallpox now because it's eradicated now. What else? Sorry? Chickenpox they've said. Chickenpox you've said, no? What else? Any viral disease that you think or you've seen has skin manifestations. Please think about it. Herpes, chickenpox they've said. What else? Do you get, you've seen warts? So this was a 10 plus 2 question also. What is the etiology of warts? Which virus is responsible? Have you heard of human papilloma virus? How many of you have heard of human papilloma virus? Can you raise your hands? So does it have skin manifestations? Yes, it has. Have you heard of rashes in dengue fever? Have you? Yes, you have. So what I'm trying to say is, there are a few viruses which have skin and subcutaneous tissue manifestations also. So today I am discussing them. So it's a large topic and a very important one also. And a few questions are really important which are very frequent in your exams. I'll keep on telling you as they come in the lecture. So I've divided this lecture into two parts, part 1 and part 2. In part 1, I'll cover the most important entity, that is your herpes simplex virus. And then rest of them are very small entities, so we can take them up in the second part of the lecture. The second part of the lecture is on 19th, that is Friday. So would I have this much attendance on Friday also? So can we have a quiz on this topic? How many of you are game? So you can come prepared, read the topic, and then when I teach you, you'll be better equipped. And can we have a quiz? So nobody wants it, but some people are saying yes. But there's a lot of pressure. Now, if they say yes, then they'll get a scolding from the batchmates later on. Chalo, it's okay. So what is an exanthem? Exanthem is, if I see anyone talking now, I'll send you out. Please don't think that I'm rude or arrogant. I'll just send you out because it disturbs my flow of lecture, nothing else. You can very well write your attendance and leave. So exanthem is an eruption or rash on the skin. It may be associated with fever or other systemic symptoms. Majority of the exanthems are infectious. We're talking of viral etiology today, but some of them could be due to drug reactions also. This table you can remember. The highlighted portions I have said, these are the MCQs which I have highlighted. Like human herpes virus 6 is associated with what? Yeah, exanthem subitum is caused by what? Sixth disease is what virus? Likewise, parvovirus is erythema infectiosum, which is fifth disease. So your MCQs are something like fifth disease or sixth disease, the causative organism. And there are a few RNA viruses also. Today I'll concentrate mostly on the DNA virus. This table is from your book. This entire presentation is from your book only. I have customized it a little. जो important points थे उनको I have highlighted. The things that were not very important I have deleted. So I've kept only the important portions. But you don't have to write anything. If I'll tell you, if something is different, I'll tell you. Like the MCQ is Koplik spots are seen in which, any issue? Any issue? Koplik spots are seen in which viral disease? So measles. So today, now this is the most important part of my lecture, herpes virus, which I'll finish today. So herpes virus, what are the manifestations on the skin? Second last row, third girl, please stand up and answer. Do you have your book opened up? Then what are you looking for downstairs? If you're not interested, you can leave. You're disturbing me. I anyway don't need this crowd, no? So it's okay. A few interested students can stay and rest can leave. Attendance sheet I have circulated. So, next please, sit. Next. What do you see in herpes infections? Have you heard of them? है ना, you have heard of them ना. तो क्या होता है उसमें? What is the pathognomic finding? The patient will come to you what? Okay. How will the patient come to you with? Tell me that. Badger? Anyone? So the classical presentation in my entire lecture today will be fever with rashes. Yeah, fever with vesicles. The patient will come to you, say, I have 2-3 days history of fever and now I have rashes all over my body. These could be, they will call it rashes because they will not know the medical terminology. They could either be, they could be vesicles also. What is vesicle? Vesicle is a fluid-filled blister, and sometimes it can lead to pustule also. There can be pus formation also, and it might even burst. So when it bursts, there will be pus oozing out also. So in such a case, let us do a very random thing. If a patient comes to you with this fever with rashes or vesicles with fluid oozing out, what sample will you collect? Anyone? Blood sample? पस का सैंपल कैसे लेंगे? So instead of taking the pus that is oozing out, you first clean the area very properly. Why should we clean the area? Last lecture I told you. So that we do not end up collecting the commensal flora. So the real pathogenic organism will be found in the base of the vesicle. So we have to reach there. So you first clean the area properly, take all aseptic precautions, take a sterile swab, now you have to wear sterile gloves also. Let me be very clear on this also. And then you have to ooze the base of the lesion, and the pus that comes out, that you have to collect and send to the laboratory. If you take the superficial pus that is coming out, it is no point. You'll have all polymicrobial flora and all contaminants. So herpes virus, herpes viridae comprises of a group of viruses. A very special property of herpes viruses is that it establishes latent or persistent infection in the host. What does it mean? That once the person gets infected, now MCQ is, what is the presentation by majority of people? So the answer is, most of the people are asymptomatic. They will have no symptom because the immunity takes care of the infection. But the key point is, the virus doesn't die. The virus will go to the ganglia and will sleep there. It will just hibernate there happily and stay there for a long period of time. But the virus is very vigilant, What happens is, whenever your immunity goes down, like sometimes there is some stress or some fever, and in women this history of getting, flare up of infections during the menstrual cycles also. So during those stressful times, when your immunity just goes down or you are immunosuppressed for some other reason, then at that time this virus becomes reactivated and leads to overt manifestations. So even though the patient was asymptomatic to begin with, when the person got the infection, the person was asymptomatic. But even then, when the virus reactivates, there could be lesions. So this is very important thing. They undergo periodic reactivation, and the replication occurs in the host cell nucleus like for every DNA virus. I'm telling you only the key points. Now this is the morphology. You can read the morphology. Not very important. You will not even remember that. But it has a double-stranded DNA. This you have to remember. It's a DNA virus. Now this is the classification of herpes virus. It's given in every book. Extremely important long question. So your question would be, excuse me, you have to stand up at leave now. I've been noticing you for a long time. Sorry? Are you making notes? Then? You came to attend the class without your pen. Very nice. You think you are the first one doing MBBS here? Please sit down. Don't create chaos in my class. I'll send you out. You have marked your attendance. Please leave. Leave. He'll mark you. So this is the classification of human herpes virus, a very important long question. Your question would be something like, classify human herpes viruses and discuss in detail about human herpes virus. It will be something like this. So you have to remember this table. There are a lot of MCQs also in this thing, like what is the duration of your replication and what is the primary cytopathology. Like it is cytolytic for alpha viruses, where it is cytomegalic, entirely the opposite thing, Cytolytic is it leads to lysis of the cell, and cytomegaly means it leads to enlargements and ballooning of the cell. So this table is the entire summary of your herpes viruses. You have to remember this table. Everything here is a MCQ. Say Epstein-Barr virus leads to infection in what organ system? Lymphoid tissue system. HHV8. I'll ask questions later on. So it's good if you're attentive and you want to really attend my class, you please see the table carefully. I'll ask questions. Something like HHV8 is related with what disease? So it's Kaposi sarcoma. So it belongs to alpha subfamily of herpes viridae, extremely widespread, exhibits a broad host range. And an important thing about herpes virus is that it infects exclusively human. Now tell me, can you please think about, if I tell you that the virus infects only humans and there is no animal host, what do you think is the significance of me telling you this? Actually, it doesn't happen in this, but I'm generally asking you. If there is a particular virus which infects only humans, there are no subclinical cases and there are no animal hosts also. What do you think this means? बेटा zoonotic तो है ही नहीं, animals भी rule out हो गए, है ना? Only humans are there and there are only cases, no carriers. So that means no carriers means there is no subclinical infection in the community, yeah, and there are no animal hosts also. So I want some of you to please come up with an answer. What does this mean for a viral illness? Yes, absolutely, very nice. So that means elimination is very, very possible. You can have an effective vaccine also for this. क्योंकि usually क्या होएगा, कोई भी बीमारी कैसे फैलती है? आपको flu हुआ, so if you have an active flu, you'll take leave and sit at home. But there are people whose immunity takes care of that flu, and they come here and they spread the infection everywhere. So there is subclinical infection which leads to spread in the community, and that is why a vaccine is not possible. And some illnesses they have a zoonotic etiology, so they have animal host also. But there are a few viruses. He very correctly answered me that the simple यदि virus है कि सिर्फ humans ही involved है, कोई और involvement नहीं है, active cases ही हैं, कोई subclinical case भी नहीं है, तो उसका elimination और vaccination बहुत ही ज़्यादा easy और possible है. So but for herpes virus it doesn't happen. Why? Why it doesn't happen with herpes virus? Anyone? Yes, because there are a lot of asymptomatic cases. In fact, the most common presentation is asymptomatic only. People will not have any presentation. They're just asymptomatic cases. So you can never have an effective vaccine for this virus. They undergo latency in the nerve cells and reactivate later, causing recurrent lesions. Now, there are two classes, herpes simplex virus 1 and 2. Very important table again, very important viva question also. इसमें जो सबसे important चीज है ना, अगर आप ये याद रख लोगे ना, आपको सब कुछ समझ में आ जाएगा. Skin lesions are above the waist in HSV1 and below the waist in HSV2. So HSV1, what is the, now let me just involve the students a little. HSV1, what is the common mode of transmission, team A? Can we be louder? Direct contact with mucosa or abraded skin. Team B, for HSV2, what is the etiology? What is the transmission? Sexual. So if you remember this, everything will be sorted out, Now, team C, HSV1 lies latent in which ganglia? Trigeminal ganglia. जबकि HSV2 की में sacral ganglia. So naturally the age affected will be team B, HSV1, young children, because it is direct contact. But when it comes to sexual transmission, which age group will be most affected? Your young adults. So common manifestations, as I told you, team C, above the waist and below the waist. So let's talk about HSV1. What are the common presentations? I would really like it if you, speak it aloud. You will remember also that way. So HSV1, what are the manifestations, team C? Orofacial mucosal lesions, yes, and encephalitis, meningitis, ocular lesions. So the rule is lesions above your waist. Now team B, When it comes to HSV2, what are the manifestations? Genital manifestations. And when a person has when a lady has genital manifestations, then it would lead to neonatal herpes also. Very natural extension of this. So tell me, what kind of delivery will have this, if a child has herpes manifestations, congenital, and the mother has herpes, what would have been the mode of delivery? Of course, vaginal delivery, not cesarean. Then only the child got transmission. So just remember these two things and everything will sort out. Neurovirulence is more in which type? Team B? Neurovirulence is in what? 2. Drug resistance is seen more often in what? HSV2. And this is your MCQ. HSV1 and 2 shows more than 80% antigenic homology. So your MCQ would come like, all of the following are true for HSV1 and herpes simplex infections except. So usme this will be one of the statements. That बहुत ज़्यादा difference नहीं है. There is more than 80% antigenic homology between the two. Now transmission, I have already told you. HSV1, what is the transmission? Through mucosa. And team B for HSV2? Team C, what was the ganglia for HSV1? And for HSV2? Very nice. So I told you, the virus goes and sleeps. You may be completely asymptomatic. You might have had an exposure, but you may be completely asymptomatic. Yet at that same time, virus will go and sleep in the ganglia. And when does the virus get reactivated? Following fever, axonal injury, physical or emotional stress, and exposure to ultra UV light. Other than this, there are, sometimes you would see, I don't know whether you've seen or not, but I am very sensitive to this because, my sister, she is a cancer survivor. So we would say that she is immunosuppressed. She was perfectly well, fighting her cancer very well. But then suddenly one day she told me that one side of the body there are lots of vesicles. So that means she must have had an exposure to the herpes virus. But at that time she was completely asymptomatic because she was not immunocompromised at that time. But now when she's fighting her cancer, she's immunosuppressed and she's getting chemotherapy. At this time, the herpes simplex infection has cleared up and there are vesicles all over her body. So this is what happens. Right now, you may not even realize. In immunosuppression state, this infection clears up. So orofacial mucosal lesions, most common affected site is buccal mucosa. Other than that, you can have gingivostomatitis and pharyngitis also. Most frequent recurrent lesion is herpes labialis. After fever, you will have a vesicle on your lips. Other lesions are ulcerative stomatitis and tonsillitis. So this is what it looks like. People who have their books open, please mark important things there, right? And these are the other spectrum of infections. So this is also MCQ, what all things can happen in herpes, so you can see that. Epidemiology, HSV worldwide in distribution. There are no animal reservoirs or vector. It has only humans as the host, but there are a lot of subclinical cases. So vaccination not possible. Primary infection usually occurs early in life. Children are commonly infected for HSV1. Antibodies develop in 70 to 90% of the adults, but it fails to eliminate the virus because the virus will sleep in the ganglion. I am saying this so many times because it's a very often asked question by one, and children don't come up with an answer. Whereas HSV2 has a sexual or a vertical route of transmission. Let's come to diagnosis. Now, when it comes to a disease entity like UTI, this is caused mostly by, please let's be attentive on this. So suppose there is a disease which is caused by a bacteria. And diagnosis is very simple. How do you diagnose that? You take the sample and you perform a culture. You do microscopy and you do culture. Here, on culture you see that organism and you know that this is a positive organism. Is everyone with me? Right? But when it comes to viral illnesses, it's not that simple. Why? Why is that not simple? Anyone? Can you grow virus in your laboratory so easily? You cannot grow virus so easily in the laboratory. We don't have all these facilities. Actually, we are a tertiary hospital, super specialty hospital. We don't have this facility. So how do you diagnose a viral illness? Anyone? Anyone? Yes. So if you cannot culture the organism, you have to rely on antigen and antibodies. So number one is, since there is pus oozing out from the lesion, you are taking the pus sample. So number one is microscopy. For herpes virus, you could do a Zank smear. Only for herpes, not for most of the viruses. It's not possible. For herpes, it is possible. This is also MCQ. Zank smear can be done for which class of viruses? So herpes virus. So number one is that. Number two, very important is you somehow demonstrate the presence of antigen, or you demonstrate the presence of an elevated level of antibodies, which again means that the patient has infection. What else could it be? So antigen, antibody, microscopy. What else? Something more important. I'm waiting for the answer. Anyone? People have books also open. ELISA is for see, that is what I'm telling you. Books se bhi ELISA, you do it for detection of antibodies. So what else could you do? Please, you have to tell this answer to me. Huh? Yes, you can do PCR. आप जिसको आप कल्चर नहीं कर पा रहे, आप उसका जेनेटिक मटेरियल दिखा दो कि इसका जेनेटिक मटेरियल प्रेजेंट है. So you do your PCR, and what kind of virus is this? So it's a DNA virus. So you do a PCR for this and demonstrate the presence of the HSV DNA. So this is a summary. Number one is cytopathology. You do a Zank preparation in which you see multinucleated giant cells. Now this is what it will look like on Zank smear. Then you can isolate the viruses, but virus isolation means culturing the virus, but it is not so easy. It is done only in high-level research laboratories. We don't have it. Virus isolation can be done by cell lines or shell wall culture, and most importantly, antigen detection, antibody detection, and PCR. Excuse me, who is this? आप हैं? ये किसका फोन है? This is not right. It reflects on your own behavior and upbringing only. So acyclovir is, I could easily walk out right now and give 0 attendance to everyone. I'll mark absent everyone. I'm done with my lecture.